In the news this week, the refugee father dying alone in a Perth hospital faces further heartache as his family is delayed by COVID. A WAMA News exclusive.
Protests demanding the Australian government intervene over the Julian Assange case.
Serious warnings over Bentley Hospital's maternity ward reopening as the delay drags on.
Advocates raising awareness of cure for deadly cat COVID, and later Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. The situation has gone from bad to worse for the Afghan refugee father who is dying in a Perth hospital as his health continues to deteriorate. Despite approvals from the federal minister, the Kavari family's reunion attempt has been stalled as one of the members has tested positive for COVID. There are still hopes that the 50-year-old will be reunited with his family, but time is running out. The family spokesman, Sharif Raziz, has visited Mr. Kavari this week. He joins us exclusively. Sharif, thanks for your time. Before we get to the Kavari family's delay, I understand that you have visited Muharram in the hospital. How's he doing?
He can't. I've seen him. He can't say much. Obviously, he's still under drug influence with medication. Very weak. So all he asks is for his family, and I know he's concerned about his family getting here as well. So I have given him his assurance that his family will come here, but there's no guarantee that they can get here sooner than expected circumstances that we have now.
Given that this reunion is an urgent matter, how much delay will it add to the family's schedule as they are desperately trying to reunite with their father in Perth before it's too late?
Probably we're looking about 2 weeks. 2 weeks behind, so the whole process will delay us 2 weeks for the family to get here.
I understand they are isolating in Indonesia at the moment, so what's the next step for you and the family? What are the priorities?
The next step is, well, for me, I've been trying to liaise with the lawyers and the Australian Embassy in Jakarta to expedite the process and make sure nothing is holding up. And that's pretty much it. We're just waiting for the isolation period to end, and hopefully the family can come over.
What do you make of the new federal government's response so far?
Look, we put the application over a year and a half ago, and it's a very positive news with the new government in office. So we're happy. But again, we're only halfway. We want the family to come see Muharram and unite the family together. Obviously, they were very excited after they heard the news that they've given the green light. But apart from that, it's an unfortunate circumstances to be in with COVID.
And of course, we'll follow the developments very closely. Sharif Raziz, thanks for being here. And on behalf of the audience, we pass on their well wishes to the Kavari family.
Thank you.
A rally was held outside a US consulate in Perth calling for the release of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange.
Protesters, including journalists and media union leaders, demanded intervention from Australia. Luke Derrick with this report.
A small but loyal crowd turned out at Forest Chase to show their support for Julian Assange. Speakers rallied against his extradition, calling for immediate action from the Albanese government. Defending his innocence, speakers called him a hero of the people and thanked him for his sacrifice for freedom. Tiffany Venning from the Media and Arts Alliance says it's important for voices to be heard.
We believe it's vitally important as a product of a free democracy, is having a free and a fearless press. The charges against Julian and facing the extradition to the US is an absolute assault on press freedom, not just for journalists here, but journalists around the world and any media organisation, but also it's a direct attack on democracy and the public's right to know.
The rally was followed by a march to the US Embassy where protesters demanded intervention from the Albanese government to bring Assange back to Australia. Julian Assange's extradition to America is under appeal. Luke Derrick, WAMN News.
Multicultural advocates have warned the WA community will be left seriously disadvantaged if the Bentley Hospital's maternity ward does not reopen soon. The ward has missed proposed reopening dates and the community isn't confident it'll open its doors before the end of the year. Nelson Liu with this exclusive report.
It's the continuing closure of a hospital maternity ward that's left Ramdas confused and frustrated. And with no signs of the ward's doors reopening soon, it's leaving a culturally diverse community without a local midwifery service.
I cannot see any justification at all.
2 years after the Bentley Hospital ward closed because of COVID-19 precautions, it's still not serving the community, and the multicultural advocate wants to know why.
It's a farcical excuse. It's from a cost-effective perspective, it makes no sense. It makes no sense from the state government's multicultural policy framework perspective.
The hospital is still operating, but the multicultural and Indigenous community have been hit hard by the closure, women and families left disadvantaged.
It is, taking away a very effective, culturally and linguistically appropriate local service and forcing people to move away to get a similar service that cannot match.
While many of the ward's culturally diverse staff have been stood aside and are working outside the health system.
These are people, I think in many cases, who have spent years dedicated and committed to the work at the Bentley Health Services. That's been taken away from them.
WA health workers have hit out in recent weeks at the wait to reopen, a nurse and doctor slamming the delays. Ramdas says date after date has passed without Bentley Hospital's maternity ward reopening. He doesn't have much confidence it'll reopen before the end of the year. The state opposition has backed the criticisms.
It's really distressing to see that these wards are empty now, many years after their closure, and also a commitment to those services as well.
But the McGowan government says the closure was always temporary.
And we are absolutely on track to open in November. We're very committed to bringing that service back.
Ramdas believes the time to reopen is now.
The call to government is act fast, act decisively.
Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
In just over a month, the WA Health Department has begun a severe clampdown on the distribution of vapes in the state. Vapes are now almost entirely illegal, and the department has already put 3,000 retailers on notice following the new restrictions. The government says those who break the new laws can face up to $45,000 in penalties. The state government says the state government has created an anti-vaping toolkit for parents and schools to help young people understand the harms that vaping can cause.
These have never been legal in Western Australia, and we have been doing compliance activities for a number of years now, but have now stepped it up quite significantly.
WA Premier Mark McGowan and Australian billionaire Clive Palmer have to pay each other damages following the defamation ruling by the High Court. Justice Michael Lee ruled that Mr McGowan has to pay Mr Palmer $5,000 worth of damages, and Mr Palmer has to pay Mr McGowan $20,000 worth of damages. The conflict occurred during the fight against Western Australia's hard border, with the public spat between Mr McGowan and Mr Palmer spread across the media. During that period, Mr Palmer attempted to sue Western Australia for $30 billion worth of damages over a mining project, forcing the state parliament to pass legislation to stop the claims.
WA's legalised cannabis party has opened up its nominations for candidates as they prepare for the North West Central by-election. The party is taking a community-based approach, encouraging members and prospective members to nominate, aiming to put forward the very best local candidates it can. Party leader Dr. Brian Walker says the approach focuses on local people and local issues.
Looking for someone who will serve the people that elect him or her. I am very concerned that politicians seem to serve their party first. I would rather they serve the people who elect them. That's who we are. We're representatives of the people. And that's the first thing. The second thing I want to have in that person who will stand for us is someone who's prepared to work for the wellness of society, the physical, mental, financial and social wellness of society.
WA's Pastoralists and Graziers Association is warning people of the risk of foot and mouth disease in the country, advising people to be vigilant when entering the nation. The association says it is critical to keep it out of the country at the moment. PGA WA President Tony Seabrook says it's vital both state and federal governments educate travellers returning to Australia about the risk involving the disease.
No one goes overseas with one pair of shoes and one pair of thongs. To say you walked over the bath, you've done your bit. It does need to come close. There might even be a second pair of shoes in the bag. There might be some other contaminated material in the bag, or there might even be a little bit of food. And that's happened so far. People that have been told not to do this have still been caught bringing food into the country.
A cure has been found in an often fatal virus that affects cats across the world, according to an Australian non-for-profit group. Feline infectious peritonitis, or FIP, is a viral disease. According to FIP Cats Australia, is now curable. Sandy Barolo's first experienced the pain that FIP can cause around a decade ago. As a breeder, she imported the cat from the USA. For those who are looking for more information about FIP and the support available, you can visit the organisation's website. It's also important for cat owners to seek vet instructions first.
That cats get, and it comes from the coronavirus, and it mutates. So if a cat gets stressed out, or it's been under a lot of pressure, or anything like that, it mutates, and that there's different forms of FIP. Each cat will have different symptoms. So one cat's eyes may go very cloudy. So if their eyes are bright orange, like what ghosts are, if they suddenly start becoming like very cloudy, that means that it could potentially have ocular FIP. And neurological, so the cat's walking and all of a sudden the cat's falling over, that's another sign of FIP. Then you have the wet FIP, which is a bloated tummy, and if you tap their tummy, it sounds like you're tapping a balloon because it's the belly full of liquid.
Well, that was a very cute cat that we got to meet today, and very fittingly named Ghost.
And that's right, particularly he's only 4 months old. You're surprised at how big his really was.
I was.
And now here's AMA-WA spokesman Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly COVID-19 update and medical commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. Monkeypox, of course, arrived in Western Australia with a case being found here this week, and it's not cause for panic, but it does mean that we need to immediately institute public health controls to prevent it from spreading widely in the community. It can be a devastating disease in children in particular, and the only people who are protected against it at the moment are those who have had a smallpox vaccination previously. We don't think that it will spread as quickly as COVID does. There is a risk that it can be transmitted via the aerosol route, but mainly it's for people who come into very close contact with one another, and we're seeing that that's how it's being spread just now. That doesn't mean that it can't get into the school environment. There's a school in Illinois at the moment that's having to inoculate all of their children with smallpox vaccine just to be sure after an exposure event there. We may see some similar things happen here in the next little while, but the vaccine is very effective and can be given even post-exposure with good effect. So we need to do the testing, the tracing, and the usual epidemiological things that we do for every public health outbreak. Why is it happening now? We're not quite sure. It may be related to immune damage across the population as a result of COVID spread, which is suddenly seeing diseases that wouldn't normally get up and running happen. It may also be due to just increased global travel, spreading these things around more easily than previously and during the pandemic when flights were shut down. So we'll keep a careful eye on that one. At the same time, recognising that we're probably on or around the peak of the BA.4/5 variant of COVID, knowing full well that it's likely another wave will follow down the track. There's no good reason to expect that this will be the last one. So we'll continue to be plugging on about getting protections in place to breathe clean air in the community. There's not many people out there wearing masks despite the prevalence of COVID. That's a feature of the fact that most people who get this disease are going to be okay, but it means that there's a large part of our vulnerable population who are basically now in self-lockdown. So people who are on chemo, immune suppression for other things, or frail and elderly are just staying away from participation in society, and that's a shame because a lot more people could be encouraged to come out if we were much better at wearing masks like people in places like Japan do whenever they go to the shops, just so that they don't catch anything or spread anything to anyone around them. I'd encourage those of you who haven't taken advantage of the fourth dose, who are in the eligible age group, to get a hold of that. And of course, we're really pleased to see that very soon our most vulnerable young kids between 6 months and 5 years will be getting the vaccine, and hopefully, very soon after that, we'll have enough vaccine to be able to get it to the rest of that age group between the ages of 6 months and 5 years old. It'll be fantastic to see them get some protection against COVID as well. And looking into next year, the pandemic's not going to end before then, and we need to be planning for variant specific and hopefully maybe a variant independent vaccine, one that will work as a sterilising vaccine for every future wave of this disease that's possible. So fingers crossed, science has been the solution up until now, and hopefully we'll be able to stay safe and well until we get to that point. Thanks for your time.
That was Dr. Andrew Miller. Now, here's Leo with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks to us today on 6 News, New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet calls on the Liberals not to be seen as Labor light in the first state council since the federal election loss. Plus, the Greens announced upper house candidates for the Victorian election, aiming to take back the 4 seats they lost in 2018. And is this the end of InfoWars? Days after filing for bankruptcy, the US media company could be shut down after Alex Jones was ordered to pay over $71 million after calling the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre a hoax. You can see full details on those stories and plenty more by heading to our YouTube channel. Just search 6 News Australia to find us, or head to our website, 6newsau.com. Now that, guys, it's back to you.
Thanks, Leo, and that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, we wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.